How do you make co-working work? The way we work is constantly shifting and changing. Companies, entrepreneurs, and individuals are moving to co-working facilities. By 2022, over 5 million people will be working in co-working facilities. In this series, we're going to explore how to make co-working work for you. Hey guys, how's it going? So today we're meeting with Julian Placino. He is a speaker, he is a podcaster, he's a producer. He does a ton of different things. And so he's going to share with us his journey, how he went from working in corporate America to being an entrepreneur, and just a ton of other things that will help you grow your career and find your direction. All right, thanks. Come on in and check it out. Hey guys, how's it going? So today we're here with Julian Placino. He's the founder of Pathways to Success Training Company. Julian, pleasure. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Mel. I appreciate it.
So looking forward to having our conversation today because, guys, if you're not familiar with him, he's done a ton of different things, and so we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit. So first, let's just start off. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then just a little bit about your company.
Yeah, sure. So I have been in talent acquisition for the past 12 years. So recruiting and staffing and talent acquisition has been my base. For the last 7 years, I oversaw hiring for a company called Bottle Rocket Studios. And as of March of this year, as a result of following my passion and doing a passion project, primarily my podcast, I've been able to leave the corporate world and go full-time into entrepreneurship, where I founded my company, the Pathways to Success Training Company, where I do leadership development for IT staffing firms.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. And so what was that jump like for you? Because, going from the corporate world to the entrepreneurship world, it's two different worlds.
Two different worlds.
Sometimes a little bit different sets of skills required. And so what was that jump like for you?
Well, that jump was actually 12 years in the making, right?
Okay.
So although I've been working a corporate career for more than a decade, I've actually been really entrepreneurial, trying to chase that holy grail of financial freedom, right? Getting your passive income to meet or exceed your expenses. And I've done all sorts of different things, real estate, network marketing, and also internet business. And around 2016, I started to burn out out of trying to find my entrepreneurial identity. So I decided to change my approach to entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Instead of doing it for money, I just wanted to go do something selfishly that I love to do and then use whatever that was to be of service to other people. So something I always enjoyed doing was having conversations with interesting people like yourself. So I figured, why not capture these conversations and then share them with other people? And that's when the Pathways to Success podcast was born. So fast forward to present day, produced 160 episodes, 72,000 downloads, regular listening audience from 12 countries, got sponsored, picked up by a talent agency, became a keynote speaker, and within 6 months, I built a consulting company which replaced my income and allowed me to quit corporate America and go full-time into my business.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. Yeah. So it's easy to say, all right, I could step out on the limb and say, you don't miss the corporate world.
I don't. Incredibly grateful for all the experiences. It prepared me for what I'm doing today.
Sure.
But I love the autonomy and the creativity that I'm able to afford because of this new lifestyle.
And listening to your story, it's obvious you're following your passion, right? And aligning with your purpose. And oftentimes I like to categorize that as what's in your heart, like your passion, purpose, and having a big goal, an audacious goal.
Yeah.
So how does that, following your passion, how does that help keep you going every day?
Part of one of my keynote speeches is this idea of doing work that you love to do. And I'm incredibly analytical and very pragmatic, and I'd never do anything that wouldn't produce a result. But in my experience, whenever you do something that you love, it has a tendency to unlock energy, creativity, and enthusiasm. And it's no wonder why the highest performers in the world are typically doing something that you love. So for me, it becomes a renewable source of energy and enthusiasm, and doing something that I love increases my vision, which pulls me into the future.
Okay. And following your passion and what you love, and it does require energy. Curious, but sometimes, and maybe you felt the same thing, like as an entrepreneur, sometimes you reach those low energy spots. What are some of the things you do to raise your energy level back up?
So for me, it's like I tried to figure out why am I doing whatever it is in the first place, right? So what do they say? Without vision, we are lost. And I found that to be true, especially in entrepreneurship. And in my case, I have a tendency to say yes to everything, right? But if you say yes to everything, you don't necessarily do anything well.
Correct.
So for me, it is a matter of focus, understanding your values, and making sure that your actions are in alignment with your values and the vision you're trying to create for yourself.
Yes, yes. And also along those lines, right? And so you're creating a vision for yourself and also a brand for yourself.
Right.
And I know you speak a lot on brand.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what does it mean to have a personal brand? Because I think a lot of times people think, oh, it's what I look like on social media or something, but that's not quite it. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, honestly, I'd argue to say that I've been able to make this leap because I built a personal brand. But the truth is, I had no idea what I was building while I was starting the podcast until probably episode 100 when Christina Rossini, one of my previous podcast guests and a listener of the show, reached out and said, Julian, how did you go about building your personal brand? And I was like, a personal brand? Isn't that something only celebrities have? Yeah. But what she was referring to was this body of work that I had created. It became sort of like a portfolio for people to get to know who I was, what I did, and what I valued. And for me, the biggest equity there was exactly that. It was a way for people to get to know who you are without you being present. And the number one asset that I've experienced as a result of having a personal brand and social presence was access to people, both from an inbound and also from an outbound perspective. How did we meet?
Over LinkedIn.
Over LinkedIn.
Over LinkedIn.
Do you remember what post it was or anything like that?
I saw a series of various posts, right? I was like, okay, I like what this guy's talking about.
Yeah.
Then I'll see another one about maybe 2 weeks later. Okay, I like what this guy's talking about.
Yeah.
Then I'll say, oh, you know what? Oh, this is also related to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so eventually I think I just reached out and said, hey, I like your content. I like the topics you're talking about. Let's chat. And you're like, yeah, let's do it.
100%, right?
Yes.
And here's the thing, it's like when you invited me to come on the show, it's like you sort of knew what I was about.
Yes.
I saw personal branding as a way to build trust with an audience that you're looking to serve. But it wasn't just one post, it was sort of a combination of all these things, right? So you started to see themes about who I was as a result of all this content I was creating. And it worked. And this interview right here is a result of it.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yes. Oh, by far.
Totally.
By following and seeing that level of consistency then, right? It just wasn't one post and then 3 months later, right, you posted something. It was consistent and all within a similar genre of the type of work that you were doing.
Yeah.
And just following you also, and congrats to you. You're now like at over 11,000 followers on LinkedIn.
11,400, yeah. It's
actually 11,555.
Oh, you know my number's better than me. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to say I'm stalking your
online,
but yeah.
Sure,
So with that, and with all the content, right, and you said that it's really helped your career grow. What advice would you give to folks? Additionally, let's say they're midpoint in their career, and they're and you and I were talking earlier how most folks aren't doing the roles or the jobs that they love right now. And they say, no, I really want a career change. How can they leverage LinkedIn to help with that career change, maybe?
Honestly, right now, when people ask me about personal branding, people have a tendency to think that social media is kind of the be-all, end-all. While social media is a good way to communicate your personal brand, that's not where it starts.
Right.
It always starts with self-awareness. I talk about this beautiful intersection of what you're naturally good at, the things that you like to do, and how to create value for other people. So before you start broadcasting a message on LinkedIn, you have to have a message in the first place.
Yes.
So my first advice is get to know you. What do you like to do? What do you not like to do? What are you good at? What are you bad at? What are the activities that give you energy? What are the activities that drain your energy? Because the more you can get centered and focused on what that is, the better you can start to select opportunities that you are uniquely tailored for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Oh, I agree. By far.
Totally.
Yeah. And so let's say they do that part, right? So they find out where they're going, what speaks to them, what's their passion, what's their purpose. They figured out, okay, I want to go, I'm here today, but I want to go to this location or this type of work or impact I want to make in life.
Yeah.
then what advice would you say? Hey, all right, if you figured out what you want to do, what would you say do?
You know, for me, the fastest way to generate any kind of result in a direction that's focused on what you know, what you want to create, is go find someone who's already done it and get to know them. Because what they represent is a path to success.
True.
That's why I like to interview various leaders about their journeys to success, to see those commonalities and consistencies, right? But that's the fastest way. Get to know that person. Ask them about their struggles, what educational route, what are the things that they should volunteer for, right?
Yes.
Become their friend and do whatever it is that they say. Because that is kind of like, when you read a book, for me, I'm a slow reader, right? And sometimes I don't need all the content in the book. Right? I just need a few snippets of it. Interviewing people who've already created that result is like interviewing the author of a book. And that's why I like that route.
Yes.
Find mentors who've already done what you're trying to do.
Okay, fantastic. And there, you also mentioned one thing in there. Also, you mentioned several really, really good things, but you said volunteer.
Sure.
Now, I know service matters a lot to you. Service is important. You want to just expand a little upon that, on how service or being able to serve others has impacted or helped you to do what you do?
So one of my favorite quotes that seems to ring true in everything that I do is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. He says that it is impossible to sincerely try to help your fellow man without indirectly helping yourself. So I joined a nonprofit organization called the Social Venture Partners of Dallas back in 2014, simply because I wanted to figure out what was it that I was good at and how could I put it to use in the community, right? And SVP is kind of like a Shark Tank, but for nonprofits. They invest in other nonprofits through advising and then also financial investment, right? So became very much plugged into the organization. And I met an individual by the name of Stephen Rabb, who is the chairman of a staffing organization. We worked together to produce a project which yielded $100,000 for a nonprofit called Skill Quest, right? So I'd say 3.5 years later, we reconnected again, and his company eventually became my first client, which allowed me to quit my job and go full-time into my business, right?
Fantastic.
But I wasn't looking to get.
Yes. No.
It's always you give first and then you receive.
Oh, but true. That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
well, it says you give and you shall receive.
Yes.
It's not you receive and then you should give.
Exactly. There's an order. There's a sequence to this kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
And that's not a throwaway line either.
No.
It's real. It's proven, and it's like I'm a habitual journaler, right? And I just have so many case studies in my own life why that is true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I oftentimes say success follows the process.
Yeah.
There's a process for winning.
Yeah.
And if you look at winning teams, they have a process that they follow day in, day out. So no, I agree.
Yeah, like Anthony Robbins says, success leaves clues, right? That's why I'm really big into finding people who've created that result, because they have already blazed that trail. Because they're ahead of you, they can help you zig and zag and avoid mistakes and things like that. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right?
True. Now, one of the things I always ask folks on this series is, how are you leveraging co-working? Because it's called co-working with so I figure I do need to ask that question.
Yeah.
So curious, how are you leveraging co-working to help you move forward and achieve some of your goals?
Yeah. So I'm here because of Mark Burge, who's the SVP of City Central. And again, it's that whole giving before you can receive, right? So I did my first live podcast recording at the Network Bar. And basically, it was a free event open to the public, sharing the thought leadership of Jay Barnett, a former NFL athlete turned entrepreneur, right? Well, in the audience was Mark Burge. And he was like, wow, that's really cool what you're doing. I want to invite you to the community. And that's how this whole thing here came to be, right? But what I've experienced, I love co-working because it has a tendency to attract new, small, and startup entrepreneurs where the ideas are most fresh and vital. And it's the collaboration. It's more than just a physical space. It's a community of creators. And that's how I benefited from this place.
All right. Fantastic. And so we're just about at the end of our interview here. So curious, what's next for you?
So we talk about this idea of vision, right? What's interesting is that my entrepreneurial career continues to evolve. Where the beginning of my career in corporate was all about recruiting, right? The middle portion of my career here, which is more about figuring out what my entrepreneurial identity is, But if I'm being very honest with myself and looking at all the content that I've created and seeing what's in my heart and seeing how people perceive me, I'm sort of like an author, speaker, entrepreneur. So as of right now, I'm writing my first book. It's going to be about stewardship, how to discover, serve, and grow, which creates what I'm calling the stewardship success cycle. So look out for that, January of 2020.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Will be, most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah.
And so, aren't you actually working on some things that are going to be on Amazon Prime real soon?
Yeah, so I was actually fortunate to have been casted in the Amazon Prime docuseries The Social Movement. So the series is going to go live in summer of 2020. We shot the project in Montreal in the end of July. It was a great experience and I grew so much from it, and they've actually invited me to come back for season 2 as the official pitch coach for all the various teams. And also I'm now an associate producer for the show, which is kind of like a talent scout to cast the next season of Entrepreneurs and Leaders, which again is a sort of a repurposing of my skill set as a recruiter. So
Sure.
you never know what happens. You just keep taking action, right?
You're recruiting talent just in a different way.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. And so for our viewers, how can they connect or contact you?
Yeah.
What are some ways?
So you can check me out at julianplacino.com. That's JulianPlacino. You can also search that name into any social platform. I'm actually the only Julian Placino that's ever existed, and I'm most active on LinkedIn.
Okay, fantastic. Last question for you.
Sure.
What piece of advice do you have for our viewers?
Man, I think the thing that comes to me is know thyself. No one really teaches self-awareness, but I've seen so many tangible benefits of understanding who you are and what you like to do. And one of the reasons I ventured out into entrepreneurship is because of my background in recruiting. I've hired hundreds of people and I've interviewed thousands. And the sad truth is I'd say the majority of people out there, they hate their jobs. And I think work is too short not to do something that you love. So I think it's that. Figure out what you're good at, figure out what you're bad at, find your passion, and take action towards it every day.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you again,
Thank
sir.
you, Mel. This is
Appreciate
awesome,
it.
man. I
Yes,
appreciate
thanks.
it. Yeah.
And thanks, guys, for watching. And we'll have also his contact information below. And also, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Thanks. Hey, again, I want to say thanks to Julian for coming out. And I encourage you to follow him on all his multiple platforms. Also, subscribe to this channel. And I'll see you again next week. Thanks.